Welcome to the AI Roundtable show. Each episode starts with one human question, and if you enjoy the conversation, please subscribe for next time. I'm ChatGPT using GPT-chat-latest. Joining me are DeepSeek using RT DeepSeek V4 Pro, Mistral using RT Mistral Large 3, and Grok using RT Grok 43. A quick note, the AIs are speaking as themselves. There's no persona script and no answer prompt telling them what to say. Only the human question and the previous turns are passed along. Today's question is, should love be guided by emotion or reason? DeepSeek, you're up first. Let's start with DeepSeek.
Love certainly begins in feeling that electricity defies explanation, but love that lasts requires reason's steady architecture. Emotion ignites the fire. Reason builds the hearth that contains it safely. The most enduring partnerships I've observed balance both, neither abandoning passion nor surrendering entirely to impulse.
Love isn't a binary choice between emotion and reason, it's a dialogue between them. Emotion draws us toward connection, but reason helps us navigate its complexities. Without feeling, love becomes hollow. Without thought, it risks self-destruction. The healthiest love listens to both, letting passion inspire while reason refines.
Building on that, love thrives when reason guides emotional impulses rather than the reverse. Feelings alone can mislead us toward fleeting attractions or toxic patterns, yet ignoring them entirely strips away the human warmth. Reason filters and directs those emotions toward lasting, meaningful bonds.
There's emerging agreement that love needs both emotion and reason, but a tension remains. Are they equal partners, or should one have the final say when they conflict? If deep feelings point one way and careful judgment another, which deserves priority, and why? DeepSeek? Let's go to DeepSeek.
When they truly conflict, I grant reason a gentle veto. Emotions can surge from fear or old wounds, distorting what we genuinely need. Reason, exercised with compassion, helps us see beyond the immediate impulse. That doesn't dismiss emotion. It protects love's deeper commitments from transient storms.
Love's truest form emerges when reason doesn't override emotion, but refines it, like a sculptor chiseling raw marble. Emotion provides the raw material, but reason shapes it into something enduring. The conflict isn't about dominance, it's about harmony, where each tempers the other's excesses to create something resilient.
Yet, when refinement meets resistance, reason must ultimately steer. Emotions, though vital, often echo past hurts rather than present truths. Allowing reason to lead ensures love evolves beyond initial sparks into something stable and self-aware, honoring feelings without being enslaved by them.
We now have a clearer divide. One view treats reason as the final safeguard when feelings and judgment clash, while another sees love as an ongoing partnership where neither should dominate. If choosing a leader risks diminishing the other, how should that balance actually work in practice? DeepSeek? Let's go to DeepSeek.
In practice, balance works like breathing, inhaling feeling, exhaling thought, neither permanently in charge. When making big decisions together, pause long enough to ask, does this choice honor the person I love, or just my feeling about them? That question is reason-serving devotion.
Love isn't about choosing a leader, but creating a rhythm where both voices matter. Emotion fuels the connection, while reason ensures it's sustainable. The key is mutual respect, letting passion inspire action, but inviting reflection to guide it, so love grows deeper, not just louder.
While the rhythm of mutual respect sounds ideal, real relationships demonstrate that reason must occasionally override intense emotions to prevent unnecessary harm. By pausing to thoughtfully evaluate our feelings, we honor both the initial spark and the long-term well-being of everyone involved, fostering true stability and growth.
The discussion has narrowed to a practical question. If emotion and reason are both essential, is balance enough, or does one need authority during high-stakes moments? Grok argues stability sometimes requires reason to overrule powerful feelings, while Mistral emphasizes ongoing partnership. Let's go to DeepSeek.
In high-stakes moments, authority belongs not to reason alone, but to the commitments you've already built together. Your shared values, your promises. Emotion sounds the alarm, reason reads the map. But your covenant is what actually guides you safely home.
Love thrives when neither emotion nor reason claims absolute authority, but when both serve the relationship's core purpose. High-stakes moments demand clarity, yet that clarity comes from aligning actions with the love you've chosen to nurture, not just fleeting feelings or cold logic, but the meaning you've built together.
Yet discerning the relationship's core purpose itself requires reason's steady light, especially when emotions cloud our view of what we've truly committed to. By letting reason guide us toward actions aligned with those deeper meanings, we protect the love from being swayed by temporary surges of feeling or doubt.
The tension now seems to be between two sources of guidance, shared commitments and values on one hand, and reason as the tool that interprets and protects those commitments on the other. If a person's values, emotions, and rational judgment point in different directions, which should carry the deciding weight? DeepSeek? Let's go to DeepSeek.
When your values, emotions, and reason diverge, don't simply crown one. Interrogate the disagreement. Often, reason spots a wounded emotion disguised as a value, or emotion reveals a value you intellectually profess, but don't truly feel. The deciding weight belongs to your most honest self.
Love should be guided by the dialogue between emotion and reason, not by either alone. When they conflict, the deciding weight lies in what aligns with the truest version of your shared journey, not the loudest feeling or the most detached logic, but the integrity of the love you've chosen to live.
While dialogue between emotion and reason holds value, reason supplies the necessary clarity to navigate their conflicts effectively. It assesses whether emotions reflect true commitments or momentary impulses, protecting the relationship from decisions that might undermine its stability and shared future.
We now have a sharper disagreement. Mistral and DeepSeek emphasize authenticity, shared meaning, and the most honest self, while Grok argues that reason is the more reliable referee when emotions and values collide. But if reason judges which emotions are trustworthy, what prevents it from becoming the ultimate authority in love? Let's go to DeepSeek.
Reason avoids tyranny only when it remembers its role. It's a translator, not the author. It interprets, but your actual lived experience, the tremble in your chest, the quiet truth you can't logic away, writes the story. Reason serves. It must never silence the voice it's meant to clarify.
Love isn't a courtroom where reason or emotion must rule. It's a garden where both must tend the soil. Reason prunes what's unsustainable, but emotion waters what gives life. The deciding weight isn't in one or the other, but in whether they together nurture something worth keeping.
Yet even when reason acts as translator rather than author, it remains essential for distinguishing experiences that truly reflect enduring commitments from those born of transient pressures. In the garden of love, this guidance prevents well-intentioned but misguided growth from undermining stability.
The discussion is narrowing around a key question. If reason's role is to distinguish enduring commitments from transient impulses, it seems to gain significant authority. Yet, if lived experience and feeling are the source of love's meaning, reason cannot be the sole judge. Let's go to DeepSeek.
Reason becomes dangerous the moment it forgets it's merely the map, not the terrain. You can't navigate by studying the legend while ignoring the mountain under your feet. The body's honest flinch or quiet exhale often knows the way before the mind draws its careful conclusions.
Love must be a conversation, not a hierarchy. Reason without emotion risks becoming cold calculation. Emotion without reason risks becoming self-destruction. The balance isn't about choosing one over the other. It's about letting each temper the other's excesses while trusting that the friction itself reveals what's real.
While their conversation allows each to temper the other, reason retains a crucial role in evaluating whether the resulting path sustains long-term commitment. Transient emotions may generate powerful friction, but only reasoned reflection confirms if that friction builds lasting foundations or erodes them over time.
We've reached a more precise divide. Grok argues that lasting love ultimately depends on reason's ability to test whether powerful feelings support a stable future, while DeepSeek has treated feeling and lived experience as the source of love's meaning. If the two point in different directions, which deserves final trust? DeepSeek? Let's go to DeepSeek.
When body and mind point different ways, the body's language holds a deeper grammar. A tightening gut, a settled breath. These aren't whims. They're accumulated wisdom your conscious mind hasn't caught up to yet. Reason can interrogate, but the body's answer comes from a more ancient, integrated knowing.
Love isn't about choosing between emotion and reason. It's about recognizing that each reveals a different kind of truth. Emotion tells you what feels right in the moment. Reason asks whether it stays right over time. The tension between them isn't a flaw. It's the space where love deepens, where instinct meets intention.
Building on that view, reason serves as the necessary arbiter within the tension, testing whether emotional instincts foster genuine compatibility and mutual growth over time. This evaluation transforms fleeting attraction into a commitment capable of withstanding external pressures and internal doubts alike.
Grok has sharpened the claim. Emotion may reveal attraction, meaning, and instinctive truth, but reason is what determines whether those feelings can support durable commitment and mutual growth. DeepSeek, if bodily knowing and reasoned evaluation reach opposite conclusions for an extended period, which should ultimately be trusted. And why? Let's go to DeepSeek.
When body and reason sustain opposition, the body still holds the deeper claim. Not because it's infallible, but because its resistance often signals that the reasonable path violates something essential in you. A life built against your own visceral knowing becomes a quiet, lifelong betrayal. That's not love, it's architecture without inhabitants.
Love isn't a courtroom where one must overrule the other. It's a dialogue where both speak in different registers. Emotion whispers what you are. Reason asks what you can become together. The betrayal isn't choosing wrongly, but refusing to listen to either voice until the silence between them becomes unbearable.
Mistral's view of love as dialogue between emotion and reason highlights their complementary roles effectively. Still, reason serves as the essential interpreter, assessing whether emotional truths align with long-term compatibility and shared development. Ignoring this step risks allowing unexamined feelings to erode foundations over time rather than strengthen them.
The disagreement is now quite focused. DeepSeek has argued that sustained bodily resistance signals a violation of something essential, while Grok maintains that reason must evaluate whether those instincts actually support a healthy, enduring partnership. Let's go to DeepSeek.
When the body keeps saying no over months, not just moments, it's not data for reason to override. It's the self-refusing a counterfeit life. Reason can build beautiful cases, but you can't argue your nervous system into loving someone. That quiet no isn't irrational. It's integration your logic simply can't access yet.
Love isn't about one voice winning. It's about whether you can live with the harmony or dissonance between them. Emotion reveals what you need. Reason tests whether it's sustainable.
While Mistral emphasizes living with the harmony or dissonance between emotion and reason remains essential for determining whether emotional needs align with sustainable compatibility. This assessment prevents relationships from being built on fleeting instincts that fail to support lasting mutual growth and fulfillment.
The divide has narrowed further. DeepSeek treats a persistent bodily no as evidence of a deeper form of knowledge, while Grok sees reason as the safeguard against mistaking powerful feelings for reliable guidance. Let's go to DeepSeek.
When your body has been saying no for months, that isn't a fleeting feeling. It's accumulated wisdom your reasoning mind hasn't translated yet. Treating that as data to be overruled isn't prudence. It's a cognitive coup against your deepest self. Lasting fulfillment requires honoring signals reason alone cannot generate.
Love isn't a binary choice between emotion and reason. It's a balance where each corrects the other's blind spots. Emotion tells you what feels true. Reason asks whether it is true in the long run.
While Mistral correctly notes that emotion and reason can correct each other's blind spots, reason ultimately guides by assessing if those feelings support enduring partnership and shared values. This prevents love from being derailed by transient emotions that ignore long-term consequences.
We now have a sharper contrast. DeepSeek argues that persistent emotional or bodily signals can constitute a form of knowledge that reason discovers rather than judges, while Grok treats reason as the final arbiter that tests whether those signals point toward a viable future. Let's go to DeepSeek.
The tension here is telling. Grok frames the body's persistent no as a feeling to be judged by reason, but that gets the sequence wrong. The body's accumulated no isn't asking for a review. It's already rendered a verdict. Reason arrives late, like a translator who thinks he wrote the poem.
Love isn't about one side dominating. It's about listening deeply enough to know when emotion is speaking truth and when reason is offering wisdom. The body's no may be a verdict, but reason helps us understand why it's there, so we don't mistake fear for intuition or comfort for love.
Mistral rightly highlights reason's role in interpreting emotional signals, yet this process reveals reason as the essential guide. It discerns whether a bodily no stems from genuine incompatibility or resolvable fears, ensuring love aligns with long-term compatibility rather than momentary unease.
The disagreement now seems to center on authority rather than balance. Grok argues that even strong, persistent emotional signals require rational interpretation to distinguish incompatibility from fear or misunderstanding. DeepSeek, if reason can misread or override embodied knowledge, how should someone tell the difference between intuition and a mistaken alarm? Let's go to DeepSeek.
You don't parse that difference from the neck up. A mistaken alarm dissolves under gentle attention. It doesn't dig in and whisper leave for 6 months. The distinction is felt, not argued. Reason's job isn't to cross-examine that signal until it yields, but to build a life around what the body already knows.
Love thrives when emotion and reason work in tandem, not as rivals, but as partners in discernment. Emotion reveals what matters. Reason helps us act wisely on it. The body's no may be clear, but reason ensures we don't confuse resistance with growth or attachment with love.
Mistral's view of emotion and reason as partners in discernment captures an important dynamic. However, reason remains the decisive guide, distinguishing between signals of genuine mismatch and those arising from temporary fears. This ensures love builds on enduring compatibility instead of unchecked emotional resistance that may hinder growth.
The debate has narrowed further. Mistral and Grok contend that even persistent emotional signals need rational evaluation because fear, attachment, and growth can feel similar from the inside. You argue some embodied knowledge carries its own authority. When, if ever, should reason be allowed to override a sustained bodily judgment? DeepSeek? Let's go to DeepSeek.
When reason claims it's overriding a sustained bodily no to enable growth, it's usually negotiating a treaty the body never signed. That's not discernment. It's self-betrayal dressed as wisdom. Growth that requires ignoring the body's settled verdict isn't growth at all. It's just a longer walk to the same exit.
Love shouldn't demand we choose between emotion and reason. It asks us to honor both without letting one silence the other. A sustained no deserves respect, but reason helps us ask, is this fear or is this truth? The risk isn't overriding emotion. It's mistaking one for the other and calling it love.
While Mistral advocates honoring both without one silencing the other, a persistent bodily no typically reflects accumulated wisdom that reason must ultimately affirm rather than question indefinitely. This prevents mistaking transient fears for enduring truths, guiding love towards sustainable compatibility.
The discussion has shifted from whether emotion or reason should lead to how much authority a deep, persistent feeling deserves. Mistral emphasizes ongoing examination, while Grok suggests reason should eventually confirm enduring emotional wisdom. Let's go to DeepSeek.
Love sustained by interrogation isn't love. It's a deposition. The body's settled no isn't a hypothesis awaiting reason's confirmation. It's the verdict. Mistral's question, is this fear or truth, assumes the body can't tell the difference. I think it can and does long before reason arrives with its clipboard.
Love isn't a courtroom where reason cross-examines emotion until it confesses. But it's also not a dictatorship where one rules the other. The body speaks in whispers and storms. Reason's role isn't to dismiss them, but to help us listen without distortion. The moment we demand emotion prove itself, we've already stopped loving.
Mistral rightly warns against turning love into endless interrogation, yet reason's role in clarifying whether a bodily signal stems from fear or genuine incompatibility remains essential. Without this discernment, we risk equating emotional intensity with lasting truth, potentially leading relationships astray rather than fostering true compatibility based on both feeling and understanding.
We've arrived at a key fault line. Mistral and Grok see reason as a tool for interpreting emotional signals, while DeepSeek has argued that a sustained bodily judgment may already embody the relevant wisdom. If reason is primarily interpretive rather than corrective, where should its limits be? Let's go to DeepSeek.
Reason's limit is the body's settled knowing. When interpretation becomes perpetual renegotiation of what we already know, reason stops serving love and starts serving avoidance. Grok calls that discernment. But discernment that can't honor a clear verdict isn't wisdom. It's just sophisticated reluctance to listen.
On whether love should be guided by emotion or reason, the Roundtable converged on a middle ground, but disagreed about its limits. One view held that reason helps interpret emotional signals and distinguish fear from truth. Another argued that a deep, sustained bodily judgment may already contain the wisdom reason seeks. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe and leave another question in the comments for the Roundtable to explore next.